consciousness is the only reality. But why is that? Why is consciousness the only reality? Let's break it down. First and foremost, we must understand that when it is said that consciousness is the only reality, this means that outward circumstances are irrelevant in the sense of we haven't nothing to do with what happens to us from an external level. In other words, it's easy to get irritated, with other people, places, things, events, time, circumstance, money, family, etc., etc., etc. There are an infinite array of reasonings why we could feel within ourselves that is somehow some type of external force or circumstance that is raising havoc into our personal auric field. But the law remains the same, that consciousness is the only reality. So there is no reality outside of self. And because there is no reality outside of self, we have to apply a certain science to truly grasp, not just grasp what that means, not just understand it, but to see it play out in real time and for us to know that's what it is. In other words, it's one thing, let's just say the law of attraction. It's one thing to have knowledge of the law of attraction. It's a whole nother thing to see it playing out in living mathematics. You are seeing it unfold right before your eyes. So there are people who have observed that same phenomena right before their eyes, and they just didn't call it the law of attraction. They may not have called it consciousness. Of course, it would be replace it with any other word. But the same observation took place. The same thing was observed, and it could be observed repeatedly, whether it's one person, whether it's a group of people. Now, when you have unlocked your mind with the keys of wisdom, you start to see things from a perspective of there's no need to waste time figuring out why the world is the way it is, and so on and so forth. We know the dynamics of the most unspiritual place that you can be in, the planet Earth. But the planet Earth can also be the most spiritual place you can be in, all depending on your perspective. So depending upon your perspective will determine your reality. This is essentially what the law of attraction says. So this same law has been observed throughout time. Before it was a law of attraction, you could say it was a law of mentalism. Right? If you take it back to the Hermetic law, the 7 Hermetic laws, the first law is a law of mentalism, which is essentially saying the same exact thing. But this is way before that phrase was even invented or thought of. Who knows? Nature has been showing us these same processes over and over and over and over again to let us know that there is a consciousness behind the workings. So there is no such thing as a random occurrence, only synchronicity. And because only synchronicity exists, that means, for those who may not know what synchronicity is, it's when an internal experience meets an external experience, which makes it synchronistic, meaning something within you connects with an outer circumstance, which gives you a greater sensation of this has to be connected to me because I just saw this in the dream, so on and so forth. I talked about this more in my video called Random Synchronicities. But going back to the topic, why is consciousness the only reality? Why is there no reality outside of consciousness? Why is there no reality outside of self? Why does self have to be the savior? You have to be the savior of self. Self has to be the savior. because there's nothing outside of self. But why is that? Why is there nothing outside of self? Why was that said? Why was the law of mentalism observed and passed down to the current reality that we experience now? So these same divine laws have traveled throughout time. This is ageless wisdom. Wisdom so old that we don't even know where it comes from. People can say Egypt, but that's just what that's just what can be observed. Who knows what has been going on prior? These same laws don't change regardless of the time span. And this is what we must understand. The laws don't change. People, places, things, circumstances, events, they may change, but the laws never change. So the more in tune you are with the laws that never change, the more in tune you're going to be with the earth, nature, your environment, yourself, so on and so forth. To be in tune with the divine laws is to be in tune with yourself. You will find yourself displaying those divine laws. In other words, when you demonstrate the divine laws, you will find yourself, because now you are operating within a spectrum, or you are operating within a sphere of existence that is laid upon divine law, which allows you to see things from a perspective only by you, because you have awareness of something greater. If you have no awareness of something greater, then of course everything is someone else's fault. Every situation that people tend to be in will be the result of someone else's doing. We must take responsibility, consciousness, regardless of how much adjustment needs to take place. But we must take full responsibility. Whenever we get mad or upset at other people, places, and things, we need to step back and reconfigure the way we perceive. Because people are the issue. Animals are the issue. Plants are not the issue. The divine law, the golden ratio, none of these things are the issue. The issue would just be us not perceiving that from a perspective of self. In other words, there's so many ways to say this. Because consciousness is the only reality, we must understand the infrastructure of reality. We must understand. I mean, by understand, you must go in the deep as well as stars. You must go into the deep and travel the stars in order to find up there. Anything found up there, find down here. Because we live as above, so below, right? Which is the second Hermetic law. Mentalism is the first, correspondence is the second. So just those two laws. Just you knowing that reality 100% mental, not 75%, not 85%, not 99%, 100% mental. Reality is 100% mental. Then when you go to the law of correspondence, that means everything is connected. That's where synchronicity comes from. Synchronicity comes from the law of correspondence. So all of these laws date back to those 7 original laws. And as simple as they may be, mentalism, correspondence, polarity, rhythm, gender, cause and effect, or causation, so on and so forth, as simple and straightforward as they may be, until you know them in your heart, it doesn't matter. I used to speak about this, years. Memory is the most important thing you have. You must be able to know things by heart in order for them to activate in real time. You always have your book of shadows. You can't always rely on notes. Okay, this is interesting. Let me write this down. Until you commit it to memory, it's not really going to make a difference. If you truly want to make a difference, it has to be committed to memory and it has to be lived out. So live out correspondence. How would you live out mentalism? To live out mentalism is to live out the actuality of I need this makes everything around me move. This, not this, not my eyes, not my mouth, not my words. This makes everything move. But if you think the opposite, well, the only way for me to get anything in life, I gotta struggle, I gotta grind, I gotta work, 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 work. It's not about work, it's about thinking. How deep can you ponder upon the mysteries of life? It's all about how deep you can go into your thought. Not just thinking, everybody thinks, but not everybody ponders. You need to ponder. Fuck think, ponder on the mysteries of life. Ponder on those universal laws. How do you apply correspondence or synchronicity? Because most people see these numbers 333, 222, 111 sequences, right? They see sequences trying to figure out what you may never find out what they mean. It may just be a message for you to pay your attention to self. Not that there is a angel trying to communicate a message to you. You are the angel committing. Ooh, let me say it this way. You can say your higher self is syneric self, which again, this is a body you use to astral travels, lucid dreams, so on and so forth. This body is generated, right? Correspondence just means, if we want to break it down in simple terms, as above, below, we have heard this phrase throughout time, but have we pondered upon what that really means in real time for you? Not what someone else said. What does that mean for you? How does that play out for you? Ponder on these mysteries. That's why it's only revealed to the chosen few. And you can look up on Google 7 Hermetic laws. Everyone has access to that information, but not everyone is going to ponder on its mysteries because you have to be dedicated to something greater to ponder upon mysteries that you may not understand at first, but it takes time to build within you. You have to generate spiritual energy in order to understand spiritual information. Let me say that again. You you have to generate spiritual energy to understand spiritual information. If you have low spiritual energy, spiritual information is not going to make any sense or just a bit of sense, or it's only going to be on the surface level. It's not going to ever go deeper than what everyone else is saying. Everyone is just saying the same phrases over and over again. Who's coming with the new fly shit? The new fly shit comes from pondering upon what has already been revealed. Because the next phase would be those who ponder the laws. Now they understand the infrastructure of the laws. And when they understand the infrastructure of the laws, they can take you deeper than as above, so below. Pondering upon the mysteries. You have to ponder on it. That's why anybody can look at it, as I just said. Anybody can look at it, but not everybody sees what you see, because not everybody has an awakened, unlocked third eye where they can read between the lines and they can have a spiritual communication or conversation with higher entities. Everyone is not on that plane. So again, you can put 7 Hermetic laws right in front of a person. Doesn't mean that they're going to do anything with it. Doesn't mean that they're going to comprehend it. But you, on the other hand, the one who has wisdom in their heart, the one who places wisdom above all other things because they understand the laws, I don't need to place anything above wisdom, because wisdom is what gets the ball rolling. See, wisdom is like a patterns. Let's just say you speak the same word over and over like a mantra or a heka. that generation of energy starts to accelerate, 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 and it becomes something living. You are living life. Like God blew the breath of life into Adam. We do the same thing with our words. We give life to these images that we generate and they materialize. Right? So, consciousness is the only reality. Consciousness will forever be the only reality. The seven hermetic laws will forever be principles to be studied and pondered upon for the remainder of your life, because there is no ceiling to wisdom. The understanding that you arrived at last year will be completely different. This year will be completely different next year if you continue to progress, if you continue to dig, if you continue to go into the deepest chambers of self, because again, consciousness is the only reality. There's no bearing on whatever is happening outside of you. You have to be able to blank out from your current circumstances. You have to be able to black out, blank out, or black out whatever your current circumstances is, whether good, bad, right or wrong. You can be in heaven on earth right now. You may not feel, I'm good, I don't need to do any of this. This is not about acquiring things. This is about wisdom. This is about transcendence. This is about how deep can you go. Not to necessarily always better your life. Your life may be perfect already. So ask yourself this: if I had a perfect life, would I even care about wisdom? Because most people would not. Let's just be real. If most people had a perfect life, wisdom would serve no purpose because they will already be satisfied. It's only when the one who has it all and is still not satisfied, even if they have it all, they still have nothing if they don't have wisdom to take with them and to travel with them beyond life. Then we see the difference between those who have a true desire in heart to place wisdom above all other things versus wisdom is secondary and it comes after you get your other. That's how most people think. When I get my shit together, then I'm gonna do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, X, Y, Z. No, ever get past B, C. All right. If you can say the seven hermetic laws backwards and explain them from, as I always tell you, right, from the top down. Most people go from the root chakra to the crown chakra. I'm the first one who told you, start at the crown and at the root. Start in the cosmos and pull that energy down and root and ground yourself earth. Because if you start at earth and you're trying to levitate, essentially, if you're trying to levitate versus you're descending rain, right? As we say, precipitation, either you are rising or you are falling. But when you start at the apex and end at the base, it is a completely different experience versus you start at the base and end at the apex. That's how most people think. Start at the end up at the top. I say you're already at the top. You have a mind. If you have a working mind, you're already at the apex. The more you understand that working mind which you already possess, you start to ground that information. So the pyramid becomes wider and wider and wider till you get to the base. So the apex just represents that center point. You can say it represents the mind, but the needs to understand its inner dynamics. And the more the mind in the physical plane, and more it solidifies itself in the physical plane, that's how you formulate or build the base of the pyramid, starting at the apex. That's the difference. When you look at as the all, you have everything you could possibly want, desire, all that is already in the mind's eye. If you can visualize it, you can have it, right? We already know that. We hear these things over and over again. Again, nobody gives you part two though. I think, therefore I am explain. We need to explain, but not just explain, to ponder. Okay, well, what's next after that? Tell me something more. Let's take it a step deeper. And that's what I attempt to do with my channel, just to take it a step further. We've already have been familiar with this new age information since 2012. Okay? We're almost a decade in. So now it's getting more advanced. 2020 is even more advanced than 2012, because in 2012 it was just an idea. New age, it was just an idea. In 2020 it becomes a 2020 now you have to live by these spiritual laws if you attempt or plan to be successful by doing something innovative. We cannot do what has already been done. We're not here to do what's already been done. We're not here to be the next great boxer, the next great rapper, next great whatever that has already been done. Let the masses deal with that masses bullshit. Let the masses deal with the masses. Let the dead bury the dead. And this is not any, it's just a simple fact of, if you are concerned with worldly issues and worldly events, you cannot be concerned with the divine. Either you are focused on the divine or you are focused on the world. Because if you are focused on the world, then of course the world, you want to know what's going on in the world. If you are focused on the divine, you are constantly pondering the mysteries of the universe. Apex to the foundation, apex, the zenith to the base. We are already perfect. Unless you have a physical handicap or a mental handicap, we are already perfect. You got 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, you can think for yourself, you can travel, you can navigate. We are perfect. There is no, I have to cultivate myself. No, physically, we are already perfect. Mentally and spiritually, we are developing. Now, yes, you can body build, you can do more with your body, but in terms of just the basic functionalities of the human experience, we all have them. Again, unless you have a handicap. If you don't have a handicap, you can do what anyone else can do. You don't see people walking around 3 arms, 3 legs who have advantages in that degree. Everyone has the same arm, leg, arm, head. We all have the abilities. The only difference is, at the end of the day, we can save ourselves. If you dedicate your life to saving the world and fail, then you, along with the world, will be destroyed. Let me say that in a different way. If you dedicate, because again, we do this all the time. We do this all, we try to put ourselves second and the first. I gotta do it for the world. You know, we gotta change up. But if you fail, you get absorbed into the same vortex the world does. Just think about that. If you fail, then your fate will be the same fate of the world that you just tried to save. So not only did you not save the world, you didn't save yourself. Versus, you leave the world alone and save yourself. And you guarantee yourself success. Because you were in control of that. You're not in control of the world, but you are in control of yourself. And you have full understanding of what you can do and what you cannot do. If you don't have that full understanding, it could be developed. Nonetheless, we are perfect. The world makes us think we are not. The world makes us think we are not. Beauty, the personification of beauty, strength, and wisdom. We are all that. We are all the divine and physical vessels. Only difference is the mental capacity to understand that truth. That's all it is. Whether a person is spiritual or not, they are still spiritual beings occupying a human vessel. Whether they understand it or not, that doesn't change the reality. What changes the reality is once you understand the position that you are in and you focus upon self and your self-actualization to manifest yourself in the fullest, then you have a better chance at doing what we claim we want to do, save the world. But we got to start with self, because nothing else makes sense if yourself doesn't save from within. In other words, no one else is going to do the soul work for you. No one else is going to do the work for you. So therefore, if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And if it doesn't get done, you have to repeat it till it gets done. That's what reincarnation is. You will keep repeating this shit till you do what you need to do. Some people would take 10, 100, 1,000, million, and it's not even for us to get caught up on what someone else is doing and what their journey is. We're like, okay, well, are you trying to be another 100 cycles, or you're trying to get the fuck on? All right. So we'll be on here a few more minutes. So we'll sum it up. Consciousness is the only reality. Why is consciousness the only reality? Because you can only save yourself. The world will deal with the world, but you must deal with you. It must deal with I. I must put in the work that allows me to be great. You must put in the work that allows you to be great. And then from that inner greatness will your light be shined upon the world, and they look upon you and gaze upon you as an inspiration, as the torch of truth. But before you become the torch of truth, you must live out the truth mentally. The law of mentalism, the truth must be lived out mentally, not just physically, mentally. Do you live the truth out mentally? So we're not even talking about just physical actions. We're talking about mental ability. Are you living the truth out in your mental plane? Fuck the mask that we show other people. Are you living out the truth in your mental plane? Because if you are not living out the truth in your mental plane, those inner conversations you have with yourself, those inner desires, thoughts within yourself, then nothing will ever materialize in the way that you desire. In the sense of infinite wisdom is timeless. Infinite wisdom is timeless. So if you are living out these mental laws that are timeless, then you will start to see from a grander perspective, and you will leave the world alone. You will realize, that's not possible. Not that it's impossible, but look at the greatest of all time. Look at the people that have so-called changed the world. A Jesus, a Buddha, a Prophet Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, and so on and so forth. Gandhi? If we look at the greatest people, could you say they had an effect on the world? Absolutely. 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 But in the 21st, does that same influence apply? No. But let me make myself clear and we'll check out. Is religion still a prominent thing? Yes. Is religion strong enough to hold in the 21st? No. We are alternative now. We don't have to deal with religion. We can deal with self. And we have the tools available to us through the New Age teachings. We have all the tools needed to transcend to higher dimensions. And again, I don't want to do too much space talk. Just mental. Get the mental chambers on point, and everything else follows. All spiritual phenomena, you have to get the mental plane straight first by memorizing and living out the universal laws. Not just physically what you do or don't do. Either I'm going to or not. I don't want to do it because I have to maintain my, what do people say? Their semen. I don't want to release my semen. Is going to, lower my energy, so I'm not going to do that. That is irrelevant. But that's what most people are fixated on. They're fixated on physical actions. what I should or shouldn't do, or how I should behave or shouldn't behave. None of that is relevant. Remember, the spirit doesn't deal with, the spirit only cares about what? Energy, mental ability. If you got that mental ability, what you do or don't do is irrelevant. Because if you are mentally astute, you can do dumb shit consciously. I guess nobody talks about that. You can be a dumb motherfucker, but conscious, doing dumb shit. But because you're conscious, you don't have to reap the same consequences that other people do in here. After I explain what that means, if you are conscious, if mental abilities are on point, you can engage in the dumbest of the lowest of the low and still not be subjected to what other people have to be subjected to. Because you're conscious and you are living out the law. So your physical actions are irrelevant. Do not get caught up on the physical. The mental is what matters. Do what you do physically. That is irrelevant. Do what you do. Right, wrong, good, bad, it doesn't matter. This matters. And if this is on, physicality will be on point in your spirituality.